All right, so your assignment 3, which I said what I would normally come next week, but since we don't have a non-student contact day, I'm going to give you these 2 weeks to do it. Is basically some of this business writing of the course. Now, I debated with this because we have a new website, right? I mean, everybody's seen MATC's new website, which I think, at least in appearance, is a drastic improvement over the old website. However, I also think there probably no website's perfect, right? There are always things that can be improved upon. So we've given the same assignment since this class started. And I thought about changing it, and I thought, but then I thought would be interested in hearing your evaluation and things that you think of the new website that might need to be changed or that you think could use improvement. So I thought to myself, I'm going to keep it the same and see what happens. And again, the purpose of this is to understand what you're doing and what a proposal is. More so, what I'm saying is it used to be really low-hanging fruit. Like you could, like the old website, I mean, you just looked at it, you probably could have made 15 different changes to it just looking at it and said it's, from the text being this big and, if you know anything about web development, your target where you're trying to click on something, all that kind of stuff. So so it's gone from a low hanging to probably now at least where you're going to have to be a little bit more thoughtful in the process. And when I consider the website, I consider the whole thing. I consider your registration, your info online. So the whole concentration of all your kind of stuff that you have access to digitally at MATC. So basically what I'm going to want you to do is and we're going to talk about what this is. I want you to write a proposal on our new website on what is something, identify something that could be improved upon, right? Maybe something is not horrible, but maybe it could be improved upon. Maybe, there's still things from your student perspective after using the website. And again, you're probably going to have to look at it and use it if you haven't done so yet. You're going to want to kind of play with it, try to find something, either act like a new student, act like an existing student, navigation, graphic, all this kind of stuff. It's still a work in progress, to be honest with you. I know the web guy here and all that stuff. So it's still a work in progress. There's still broken links in places. That's a common thing typically. Again, MATC didn't do a very good job of betaing it. They should have betaed it, and they didn't really with normal users. But whatever. So I'm going to want you to write a proposal on something that you could identify on the website or in your digital info online, whatever it may be, that could be improved upon. So that's kind of what this assignment is. But what we're going to talk about is kind of now more generally of what the purpose of a proposal is. So I told you in the beginning of this class that you're going to get WikiHow. I love WikiHow. WikiHow is a great site. And actually, when we got rid of the textbook, what I realized was that this WikiHow, this one right here, this one especially, is almost verbatim what used to be in the textbook, other than the crazy illustrations. So basically, this gives you what's great about this, what I love about WikiHow. I like steps, and I like bullet points and well-organized things that basically guide you through on writing something or doing something that is a fairly easy thing to do. And it's succinct. It's not a bunch of blah, 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 blah. It's pretty succinct on how you would go writing a proposal. So why when we looked at business, things that you're going to write in IT. So a lot of people have again, a misnomer that when you get into IT, you're not going to have to write. And actually, documentation and writing in a good company that values their IT is something that you need to do. It's not something IT people like to do, especially documentation, right, on things. But it is something that needs to be done. The other thing is that as you move up in the IT world, right, some of you probably will become managers, directors, project managers. You'll become things that, you probably don't even know you're going to become yet, right? That's going to happen. So writing skills are important. And a proposal is kind of one of these base documents that you see a lot of in IT, because oftentimes it's not the IT department that controls purse strings of an organization, right? And money and resources are important. Now, one of the key things that happens, and it's something that I've tried to tell MATC for 100 billion years, and it finally happened, on January 31st of this year, that for the last probably, I would argue for at least the last 6 to 8 years, most new students coming to MATC for the first time, right? Their first interaction is probably where? On the web, right? It's probably their first interaction with anything at MATC. And if you looked at the old website, right, what would have been your initial impression of MATC? First of all, I always told them, how can we call ourselves a technical college? I mean, again, how many people in here are web design and development? I mean, if you think back to the old, I should have captured the old site. I should have captured the whole, hopefully somebody did, or I should have captured it all. But when you think about what the old website represented and what it did, just from very basic or general design dynamics of a website, it violated what? Like almost every rule in the book, right? Navigation sucked. There were too many clicks. You couldn't find things. Text size, hit range. I mean, everything you learned probably in website development 101, right, was wrong with it. And I kept on telling them, the initial impression that people are getting with our institution is this original website, and it sucks. So, I mean, the new one, obviously, is much, much better. But like I said, there are issues. I mean, there are still problems. I thought they were going to change our logo. I don't know whatever happened to that. But it's a much more inviting, interactive website. Now, again, you probably haven't used it for registration yet. You guys have already been registered. It came out after. But again, you can kind of explore things, maybe figure it out from somebody looking at with a new, fresh set of eyes. But again, I think it's much better, much easier to navigate, much easier to find things, right? Search is still wonky, but hopefully that will come. But, again, if I wanted to go and look at academic programs, we now have it kind of basic into these pathways. We're STEM. We can look at STEM and we can figure out the pathway. And then we see pretty easily here kind of the programs that are on here, right? And we can, choose a program, and you can find out, and it just looks nicer. It's easier to read. If you look at it on mobile, it's mobile friendly. So there are things to like about this, but I would argue that there are still issues, okay? Or probably things that could be done better. And that's what your proposal is going to be about, is you're going to identify something that the current situation, describe a problem or opportunity that exists, and then propose something that will solve that issue or problem. So again, I'm going to give you kind of what I still think is low-hanging fruit, is communication on our website. So I've always advocated that a lot of our students, current and new students, I don't know, has anybody ever tried to call here? Yeah, it's kind of hell. I mean, it's getting better, but it's hell. And I was told that, over Christmas break, which would be an important time, not this Christmas break, but in past, only 50% of the phone calls got answered. You can't run a business that way. But the reality is that a website, I've always advocated for a chat bot, because a lot of the students that come to our website are asking the same question over and over again, right? How do I do this? How do I do that? How do I do this? When is the due date for this? What is that? And that information, I still think, is not readily available in a fashion that it should be. I mean, that's what I would still argue. Now, we're probably going to hopefully eventually, like I said, MATC is like the Titanic. I mean, to change it is like this, right? You to go, So my point is you're going to figure out, you're going to look at this, you're going to think like, oh, this is still a problem. And then you're going to propose a potential solution to that problem. Chatbot, community, whatever it may be. And I know you're all smart enough to figure something out that probably a lot of the people around here aren't capable or put their head in the sand and don't want to acknowledge. All right. So again, I was torn to keep with the website, but I thought, hey, I'll give it a shot. And the important part then is to write this proposal. So let's kind of go through the steps of writing a proper proposal. So you define your audience. So in IT, typically when you're proposing something, you're talking to people who are what? Are they the IT people? No, they're typically the non-technical people, the business people, right? Like I can go in and I can say, and I'll bring it more back to IT. We need a new server, right? Or firewall. And we, as technical people, get all lost in what? The technical aspect. This will do this, and this will block, I can now block these ports and dynamically do it, blah, 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 right? And I can go all down these technical rabbit holes that we all know and talk about and get excited about, right? But if I'm writing a proposal that I'm going to be talking to the CFO and the CEO and the committee that runs the business, whatever it may be, the non-technical people, I have to propose something to them and be aware of my audience that I'm talking to is not technical, right? And I have to explain to them, I can't get all bogged down and buried down in all the stuff that lights up our brains, right? I gotta explain to them what this will do for the business goals of the company. What will it accomplish, right? And I can't go down all these technical rabbit holes. So defining your audience when you write any business document is an important aspect of writing that business document. Who am I speaking to? On this proposal, you can kind of assume that you're talking to the web developer, right? Who's the MATC? What would you do? What would you change? So you can be a little bit more technical on this, right? You're not talking to a purse string holder. So I don't mind if you're a little more technical. I'm just saying generally, though, speaking to the business interests of the company is going to be the way you're going to be able to succeed in accomplishing your goals in a proposal, right? The other thing is later on, you're going to write a report. And reports and proposals are kind of like chicken and eggs. You don't know which one really comes first, right? So a report typically is like a book report, right? You report out on something. A proposal, you probably have that information, that factual information, and you've either made that observation anecdotally or empirically. What's anecdotal evidence?
Tell a story about it.
Yeah, anecdotal evidence is typically, and you're right, but it's typically what I think of as hearsay, right? So like you would come to me and you would tell me a story about your registration nightmare at matc.edu, right? Somebody else might come to me, tell me their registration nightmare, right? That would be an anecdotal evidence. I'm getting anecdotal. There's no randomization about it. There's really no data. Anecdotal data is susceptible to like I'm just getting complaints from people who don't know what they're doing, right? That might be it, right? That could be the explanation of anecdotal. Empirical data is based on what? Facts. And more likely, empirical is measurable. Okay? So it's what's measurable out there. Data. I'll go back through this when we go through a report. I thought it because this is becoming very important in this day and age. But facts, data, right? So I may have data that looks at where people stop clicking and get frustrated and leave the website, right? So I may have empirical evidence where I say the person gets to this point of their application and over 30% of our applicants just drop out after this part. It actually happens here, or did, right? We had data where it showed in the application process, people who came to the website, they got to a certain point and then they just dropped out. They didn't finish. I don't know if they came back to us in person or whatever, but they stopped on the website. Well, that tells you something, right? That if you got 30, 40% of people just all of a sudden stopping at that point in the process, it's pretty likely there's something wrong with the process, right? That's occurring. I mean, you can make that argument, and you have the data, the empirical evidence to show to somebody to say, hey, listen, something's up here. We need to do something to fix this. What's occurring here? And that would be empirical. So defining your audience, defining your issue, how does this apply? Who does it apply to? Why does it apply? All that kind of stuff. And then defining your solution. What would you do? What action would you take to fix, in your view, the situation, right? What would you do? Keep elements of style in mind. So again, here they kind of go more into writing style. Make an outline, right? Make an outline. Writing your own proposal. Start with a firm introduction. State the problem. Propose a solution or solutions, right? Include a schedule or budget. For this assignment, you're not going to have to do that, right? Because this is more informal than formal. But in a formal project, you'd say, we need to do this, we need to spend this. This is how we would roll out this server. This is where we would pilot or beta it, blah, 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 right? Right down the road. And then wrap up with a conclusion, edit your work, all the stuff I talked about with blogging, reading out loud, having it proofread your work, boom. Now, the other cool thing about WikiHow, and I've given you in the assignment a proposal template, which is fine. What people get screwed up on is executive summary. That's just a summary. I mean, it doesn't mean anything. But I actually like, and I'm a big proponent of this, is following examples. And WikiHow gives you a nice little one, they're basically one page, but gives you nice templates. They're not necessarily on the subject matter that you're doing, but they give you a nice template on how to do this, right? Very succinct, easy kind of template to follow on what you would do to propose a change to improve something that you identify as a problem on the current MATC website. Okay.
Does it just have to be the MAT page, or can we do like Blackboard?
Yeah, you can open it up. I open it up to any of the process. Yeah. I have no problem with that. So, like I said, info online, whatever digital process that you're involved in. Yeah, So, again, this requires you to think a little bit. Okay, so a lot of times it's like I said, it was really low hanging fruit with the old website. This is probably going to be a little bit more difficult, but I think it's still good exercise. Okay, and I'm more concerned about you using your brain, your noggin, to write a proposal. You're never going to be right or wrong, right? This isn't actually going to happen. I used to show the old proposals to people when I wanted evidence that our students knew how to improve the website more so than the institution did. And then they got mad and almost fired me. And this is why I always say I'm probably, if I don't show up, I'm fired. But this one I obviously can't because I'm giving them some breathing room. I mean, I've already found problems with it, but I've said to myself, I'm not going to start creating a ruckus until I'll give them 6 months to, iron it out, fix things and, broken links and all that kind of stuff. But then I'll start back on a drumbeat that this has to be improved, that has to be improved, this has to be improved. Because, again, I would argue that no website is ever perfect, right? And there can always be room for improvement. You're fooling yourself. I mean, do you think Amazon isn't always looking continually to improve the experience they're giving their customers online? They're looking all the time probably at things, on how to fix things and how to make things better. And good e-commerce sites, websites, do this all the time. And that's what kind of frustrates me about like here. And it's like, oh, now we're done. Or they haven't said that yet, but they definitely said that about the old one, right? And for your website designers, one of the problems that has occurred, our old website was all static. They were static pages. And one of the problems I've already currently seen of rolling over the old website to the new website is some of that staticness of the pages remains. Now, over time, hopefully it'll develop more of a dynamic, right? They're using a new CMS, a much better CMS, a standardized CMS versus the old CMS they used to use. They used to use one that was like proprietary and all this, and now they're using one that's much more standardized. So that in itself should help improve it, right? Mobile friendly, obviously being very important. The old website was not mobile friendly at all, right? So there are a lot of things, and so a lot of things you can still look at and think about in regards to changing or improving on the new one. And I'll be looking forward to hearing about it.
What if, like, I know a problem with it already, but I'm not sure how to solve the problem. So what do I do about that?
Well, you figure out a way to solve it.
Okay, so
I mean, think of a way to solve. What would be your solution? Yeah, I mean, a proposal is about the solution. The proposal, the proposed solution.
If I could see the inside of the webpage.
Yeah, and if you're getting technical like that, hypothesize.
Okay.
You know, I mean, you don't have access to that. So, like I said, there are limitations on this assignment, right? I mean, you're not part of the team, so you're kind of looking at it from an outsider looking in. So, if you think that, you could only hypothesize what might be going on, which is fine for this assignment. I have no problem with that. Okay. And then the last thing you're going to do on this assignment is you're going to join the G Plus community. And you're probably thinking, well, is Google Plus gone? And it is for private accounts, but not for domains. And Google Plus is where we're going to share some of this stuff eventually, your blog posts with each other. It used to contain everybody in the community, but people joined it from their personal email. You can't do that anymore. You can only join the community now with your GMATC address. So if you try joining it with your Gmail or your professional handle or whatever, it won't allow you. You have to join it with GMATC. And it kind of ruined what we thought this was going to be. And this is what happens when you rely on third-party platforms, when they change things. Because we used to have like 1,000 people in this community, and now we're down to 202 because we lost all the people who were in there professional. And I was trying to create a loop, and I'll have to rethink this next year on what I do. But you're going to join it, and then you're going to take all you have to do is take a screenshot, because once you take a screenshot of this, I see that you're in the community. So that's it. I mean, you just take a screenshot of this and you'll be fine, because I know you're in the community, and you're going to post that. And then the other thing you're going to do is you're going to share that proposal with your team with canned comment, and you're going to offer some constructive advice. So what I want you to do on this proposal is get it done. You did your team documents, right? And you have access to your team and your emails. And I want you, once you're done with your proposal, I want you to share it with your team so they can comment. And then I want you to at least make one comment on one other person's proposal on the document. Like, I could be, hey, this is a great idea, or, have you ever thought about this? Or, yeah, I totally agree. I just want you to interact on the document, on the proposal. What this means is that if you wait to do your proposal 2 weeks from today or Sunday at midnight and you share it, there's going to be an issue. So I would at least try to get this done, at least a couple of days, or at least share it, even if you don't have it done, so that some people can comment on it. Again, this is part process. I want you to get used to sharing the documents and making commentary on the documents. All right? Everybody get that? So that's where you put the email addresses in, share it, can comment, right? You don't have to do it with me. I don't need to see it. People keep still sending me links. I don't want them. I just want anyone can edit, and I want you to post the link to your proposal and a screenshot. And you might create another Google Doc and just put the link with the proposal and the screenshot and submit that as your assignment, okay? Everybody clear with that? Got it? Good. Thank you.
Got it good.
Got it good. And then that's it. Any questions?